Hello class, for today's lesson we are going to learn new vocabulary words in order to learn more about the interactions in a food web. And while learning this vocabulary, we will learn how to write a description. So, will everyone please turn to page 48 in your textbook for food web diagrams. So today, in this activity, it will teach us vocabulary words as well as writing a description. For writing, we need to get organized. That means we need an introduction, body, and conclusion. We always need those three parts. What do we need, class? An introduction, body, and conclusion. Let's draw our lines on our paper to get organized. For our organizer, we need two lines. So, 1 and 2. For the top of our organizer, we are going to need our introduction. The introduction describes what we are going to be doing. And for our body, we are going to draw a picture and label the parts. And for our conclusion, we are going to repeat the introduction using different words. So, for introduction, since we are learning about the food web and the different interactions, we are going to put a food web is made up of many different interactions between the sun producers and consumers. So a food web is made up of many different interactions between the sun, producers, and consumers. So is made up of is like an equal to. The sun, we can draw a sun on top of it so we know what it means. Producers are plants, so we can draw a little flower. And then consumers are animals that eat the producer, so we can draw a little caterpillar. Next, we move on to our body. And for our body, we are going to need our diagram with different definitions. So after our body is complete with our definitions, we have the temperate deciduous forest food chain. The temperate deciduous forest is the habitat. A habitat is the place where an organism lives. Habitats supply the organisms with food, shelter, moisture, and temperature for survival. And in our food chain, for this model, we have the sun. The sun has photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is the process by which producers' plants use the energy in the sunlight to create their own food. So, next we have the producer. The producer, such as this grass, is an organism that makes its own food, such as different plants. Then we have a herbivore, and a herbivore is also known as a primary consumer. A herbivore, such as this grasshopper, is an animal that feeds only on producers. So this grasshopper only feeds on the grass or any other plant. Next, we have an omnivore, such as this rat. An omnivore is a secondary consumer, and an omnivore is an animal that feeds on plants or other animals. So this rat feeds on either grasshoppers or the grass. Then we have carnivores, and we have two different carnivores, such as our snake and our hawk. Our carnivores are also known as tertiary consumers. Carnivores are animals that feed only on other animals. And from our carnivores, we have decomposers, such as this mushroom. A decomposer is an organism that gets energy by feeding on dead materials and waste. And our decomposers connect all the way back up to our producers, and the cycle goes again for our food chain. So that is our body. Next, we need to make a conclusion. And our conclusion, if you remember, is just like the introduction, just using different words. So our introduction was, a food web is made up of many different interactions between the sun, producers, and consumers. So our conclusion can be, a food web has many different interactions between the sun, producers, and consumers. So our conclusion is, a food web has many different interactions between the sun, producers, and consumers. So after we have made our organizers, the students will make their own writing example using the definitions. So after they're done writing, it should look like this. And it says, a food web is made up of many different interactions between the sun, producers, and consumers. The sun provides producers, such as plants, the energy to create their own food. A producer, such as grass, is an organism that makes its own food. A herbivore, omnivore, and carnivore are all types of consumers. The herbivore is an animal that only feeds on producers, such as a grasshopper. The omnivore, such as a rat, is an animal that feeds on plants or other animals. And the carnivore, such as a snake or a hawk, is an animal that feeds only on other animals. Then there is the decomposer, which is an organism that gets its energy by feeding on dead materials and waste. A food web has many different interactions with the sun, producers, and consumers. Thank you.